Hello, listeners, and welcome back to episode 111 of Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. I can't even believe I was just talking with one of the guests that I have here today that we're at episode 111 already. I remember starting out at Voice America Radio back in 2019 when we launched Lead Up for Women, and here we are 3 years later. And we're still running strong with the podcast. And we do these podcasts weekly to bring influencers, our members. We bring experts into the spotlight to share their genius with you and their tips and tricks on how they're able to succeed in business, no matter what that may be, because we learn from the stories of others. And I was on a mastermind group this morning at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, because most of them were Central. And we were talking about overwhelm, and someone had brought up that she was extremely overwhelmed because she was planning on making $1 million in 2 years. And her thought of making this $1 million in 2 years caused her to have these horrible dreams last night that everything was going to go wrong. She woke up very overwhelmed this morning. And that is just proof again. I go back to the book, Think and Grow Rich. It's a Bible. I go back to it several times. Our belief and our faith in what's possible for us really is, we need to do that auto suggestion constantly with our minds. She put in the fear immediately when she thought about what level she could get to. So having that auto suggestion and constantly believing and putting faith in ourselves that we can do it, you can accomplish anything. And I have two parents with me today that I'm excited to introduce and start interviewing and having conversations with, because they have Sheri's got 3 kids. Her partner who wrote the book with her, Carissa, has 3 children. David has 8 children. I always say that like with a big face, because I only have 7 and he has 8. And I'm also coming together with a combined family. So that's a lot of kids, David. I'm just saying.
It is.
It is.
I had the easy part.
Is that because you're a guy? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not going to go on that bandwagon, but I believe in co-parenting. And so it takes both to create children, and it takes both to raise children, whether you are together in a divorced or a remarried family. If you brought together a combined family, we've created that community in our world. And David, let me tell my listeners a little bit about you, because you're a great friend of mine. I've known you for several years now. I'm a huge fan of your events that you do, and I want to talk more about getting into more of your events and why you do those. But, you're also a dad, and you've been doing marketing, and you were the former CEO of Guerrilla Marketing. You've sold over Guerrilla Marketing sold over 23 million books. Yeah. You've been in, Beverly Hills for a long time. Several stars, influencers, but really out of all of that, you've been on the Today News, Today Show, Fox, CBS. Out of everything that you've done, David, let me ask you this question. Why? Why do you do it? Like, what is the why behind why you put on these amazing events for people to come together and collaborate? Why is marketing and exposure important to you? Why do you continuously serve and give and help others be in the spotlight, instead of maybe just out there writing your own books, doing your own thing, and not really, collaborating on the level that you collaborate? Let's talk about that.
I have a passion for creating, and it may sound kind of funny, but I feel like I'm a very artistic person, but my art is really creating businesses and creating brands and creating books and creating websites. I wish I could play an instrument. I wish I could sing. I wish I could paint or draw. I'm not really good at any of those things, but there's something about kind of getting in that state of flow, this kind of quickening. I believe there's something even spiritual involved in that. And just kind of having this clear inspiration and revelation and, being in the zone. It's very fulfilling. It's very meaningful. I find a lot of significance in it. And there are probably some better ways for me to make money. We do okay, but there's a lot of, membership stuff and product stuff and how to scale. And, I'm getting on with clients a lot of times still one-on-one. And, some of my very successful peers are like, David, why do you do so much one-on-one? I love the one-on-one. I love finding the people that are the best kept secrets, and I love finding, better ways for them to talk about themselves and market themselves. And I could go out and start a nonprofit. I could go out and try to help all these people, but I found that it's very fulfilling in helping the people who are helping others. Like, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't have to go create the nonprofit. I don't have to go design the message for that group of individuals that needs, because I can help the people who are already helping the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I find a lot of joy in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm still trading time for money, which is that one-on-one, but the joy is so wonderful when you are able to empower others to do what they do best, right? To get out there and do what they do best. So let's back up this reel a little bit. You became the CEO of Guerrilla Marketing. How many years ago was that now? I feel like it's been 20, 30.
No, no, that was 2008, 2009. And just kind of a quick setup for that is, before that, I was in banking and I was in real estate, and I had 5 offices in 3 states, and I owned 26 different properties personally myself. I owned a couple real estate franchises. And basically in like 2007, 2008, I pretty much lost everything, right? It was that real estate. Maybe I was the only one, I don't know. But I pretty much lost everything, and I had to reinvent myself. And I thought, well, what do I know a lot about? What have I done? And doing real estate, doing banking, doing lending, you create a lot of ads. I did a lot of speaking. I put on a lot of seminars. I had a radio show that was going pretty well. And so I say this because I think a lot of people can learn from, when we need to reinvent ourselves, what is it we're good at? What do we love? What will people pay us money for? Those 3 things is kind of the Venn diagram: the love, the money, and what we're good at. And so I got into, speaking and doing work for Infusionsoft, which is now Keep. And I was one of the people there that helped take them from 7 million to 14 million back in 2008. And I met Jay Conrad Levinson as a part of what I was doing for Infusionsoft. I met Michael Gerber of eMyth, Joe Polish, a lot of really amazing people. And I had a year-long contract with Infusionsoft. And Jay Levinson said, hey, when you're done, come work for me. Come, let me, help me, right? And so I went from a big contract with Infusionsoft to becoming the CEO of Guerrilla Marketing. And I helped create Guerrilla Marketing for women, Guerrilla Marketing for dentists, Guerrilla Marketing for real estate, Guerrilla Marketing for, fill in the blank. We did that whole chicken soup for the soul formula, or dummies formula. And that worked, really well. But yeah, that was back in 2009. And I did that for, a little while, and it served a purpose. But Jay was in his 70s, right? And I learned a lot from him. But he was in his 70s. And so he wasn't looking to take over the world. I was in my prime. I was ready to let's go take over the world. And he's like, yeah, I'm kind of looking to coast. So from there, I went out on my own, and I bought a existing PR company in Beverly Hills that had been around for 30 years. And I'll kind of leave it at that. But yeah, that was a very transitionary point in my life where it was like, I've done this, I've done well at this, but now I've lost everything. I got to reinvent myself. How do I do that? I think there's a lot that can be learned from that. And it led to Jay, and it led to PR, and it led to some really great connections.
Yeah. And I think it also leads back to you having faith in yourself. You built all of that to begin with, so you could build it again in another industry once you've done it once and you have that belief and faith in yourself. And now you're really, I feel like you're really in your lane. Like, you've really leaned into who it is that you are and what you do. Do you like to disrupt the status quo? Yes. So we should talk, but you do that because of your marketing background and understanding that what gets people talking and what gets you noticed is not flying under the radar. Flying under the radar, where no one knows who you are or what you do, doesn't get you noticed. Showing up, being seen, being heard, speaking your opinion, even though it's not the opinion of maybe what others would agree is the opinion, that controversy is what really gets you going. So let's back up because we've got, some parenting conversations.
Sure.
Let's back up and talk about the Gorilla Parenting book
Sure.
that you created, which was a non-traditional way of talking about how children should have a job and pay for some of their things at a very young age that maybe some other parents wouldn't agree with. So let's talk about how that came about and why you wrote that book.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tying that together with this pivotal, 2007 reinvention, you have to know that in 2007, when we basically lost everything, either sold it or gave it back to the bank. I had cars that were free and clear and a boat. I just sold it all, piled up cash. I put everything in storage and I camped out for the summer. And to this day, my kids remember the summer of 2007 as the best summer ever. I remember it as the most stressful summer ever. But my kids were always around for the roller coaster ride that is being an entrepreneur. And I never sheltered them from that. I shared the good, I shared the bad, and I always gave it context and put it in perspective. And, even when my children were little, they weren't really allowed to tell me what they wanted so I could tell the cashier what they wanted. Like, you tell them. So the point being is that this is something that always came natural to me, that I didn't wait to a certain point in my life. I always did things that were age appropriate for my kids to get them to figure out what they want, right? We want kids to want, and that's one of the greatest battles we have nowadays is the ambition battle. Kids have so much nowadays, right? They don't want as much as I would like them to want, because it's when they want that I step in and say, now let me show you how to get what you want. And the more you want, the more driven you are to do things that you wouldn't normally do. So my kids at all ages have been tied to, me and business and entrepreneur and hiring and coming into the office and traveling with me on trips. And, oh, you want to come to New York City? Well, you need to earn the money. Oh, you want to come with me on the speaking trip in Australia? You need to earn the money. You want? Here's what you need to do. You want? Here's what you need to do. And as kids get older and older, we obviously should expect more. And I'll wrap it up by saying this last thing, which is what I said on the media a lot when I do interviews on entrepreneur education. And that is, people don't find out what they're capable of until they have to find out what they're capable of. So if we are constantly rescuing people, whether they're people we coach or we're constantly rescuing our kids, we're literally keeping them from the magic. My kids, when they are trying to figure out what they want, that's when they pray. That's when they fast. That's when they study. That's when they work for something. Why would I want to ever take that away from them by giving them what I think the answer is for their life? That's when the magic happens. Don't rescue them, right? And that's kind of the guerrilla parenting, because it is somewhat unconventional, because as parents and coaches, we're always so tempted to just give the answer or to save them or to put up the money or to figure it out for them. And that's why people joke around nowadays and say we got all these snowflakes, people that can't handle things and melt under heat and pressure. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I definitely can see some of that, because they've just been rescued and coddled for so long, they've never really ever had to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, David, on that. And we should anchor in the point that, it's when you're uncomfortable. I love that book. Thanks for showing it. It's when you're uncomfortable. And if for those of you that are listening to this podcast, you can go out to our Facebook group at Lead Up for Women and you can see the video. We'll have this posted on LinkedIn and YouTube and several other areas as well. And there's going to be a lot of David's information at your fingertips right there. You're going to be able to click on that to go check out his book and order the book as well. But I want to just anchor in the point that it's when we get very uncomfortable that and our backs up against the wall, just as what you said, that is when we are forced to have to do something. When you are comfortable and you're not risking it all and there's nothing to lose, generally there's less movement that happens for you. It's the same when your bank account, and why Profit First works so well. If your bank account is full of cash, that's what you see. But if you split it up in 6 different accounts, now you have it in the tax account and the spending account and the employee salary account. and then you have it in your actual expenses account, that wad of cash now looks like only a few $1,000s, and you're like, whoa, I need to get out there and sell some more. Again, we will make the movement and the strides when we are needing, wanting. And that's, I mean, to me, that's where failure falling forward comes into play, because it's not failing, it's really learning what's working and what's not working. And if we are not failing forward or understanding or learning what's working or what's not working, and we're not teaching our children those things and guiding them along the way and helping them understand that it's okay if that didn't work out, try something different, that's teaching them life skills at a very young age,
Yeah.
because they're going to face that their entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
So, David, talk to us about some events you have coming up, because I've been attending your
Mhm.
events for a few years now, and they've only gotten bigger since the pandemic hit. I don't really feel like maybe you stalled at all in the pandemic. I believe that you've expanded in the
Yeah.
pandemic. So, tell us a little bit about that and how people can get in touch with you, how they can, be part of your community and get in touch with other people in your community to grow and be visible and be seen.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, at our core, we are really a talent management organization. We represent talent, we market talent, we support talent, we publish talent, we publicize talent. So a big part of my job is just connecting people all day long. And I could literally go 24/7 and I would not be able to connect to everybody. So years ago, we started doing these joint venture mastermind events where I would just bring together speakers, authors, experts, show hosts, event producers. I just bring together all these people and I would just sit them at tables and I'd be like, okay, you guys need to meet each other and you guys need to meet each other. And all right, everyone go around the table. So of course, when the world changed, we shifted that very quickly online, and we were already doing it online, but our live events were more attended than our online events. Of course, in April of last year, that drastically shifted. And we very quickly had people from, over 20 different countries, 100, 200 people on every day. And instead of being at these tables, we would put them in these breakout rooms and everyone would just get a chance to talk. So one side lesson that's a great reminder for everyone is you market what people want, and then you also give them what they need. But you want to market what people want. People want to get together. People don't want to be isolated. People want to talk about themselves. People want to find shows like this that they can get on or listen to or learn from. They want to find events. They want to find their people, their tribe, their crowd. So, I gave people what they want. How do you give people what they want, right? How do you one-time the business? So that's what I've done is, this is the law of multiplication. This is one-timing the business. I can just every couple months get a large group of influencers together, experts together, and we have a main session where I interview and spotlight, and then we have breakout sessions where everyone gets a chance to talk. And there's no long presentations. There's no long, pitches. Everybody's, 10, 15 minutes. TED Talks, training sessions, spotlights, interviews, panels. And so it keeps it moving. So that is toptalentjv.com, toptalentjv.com. It's by invitation, but it is free. And if you go to toptalentjv.com and it says invited by, just put in Colleen's name and you're in. And that's kind of the success of the event, is it's just good people bringing good people. Our last couple events, we've had over 100 people register at least one other person. Mm-hmm. And then there's people like Colleen that might register 20, 30, 40 people, right?
52.
That's right, 52. Okay, good.
I was in competition with Danella Burnett last time.
Yeah, very friendly competition. But yeah, you guys are all. Yeah, the other day you sent out something just a couple days ago, and I think just in that one day, I think you registered like 30 plus people just in that one day.
Yeah. Do you know why I do it, David? Do you know why I do it? Because and why I do this podcast and why I do everything I do is because people don't know what they don't know. They don't know who's out there. They don't know who to connect to. And if we keep that to ourselves, then we're taking away their opportunity to expand their influence into other communities. And someone in that community maybe needs to work with them or hear their message. So I am so open about serving my community and giving them the opportunities, especially when I see an event that has been so valuable for me to be spotlighted, to meet other people. And, my main goal in why I promote your event so much is really about the level of individuals that are there, the community you've created. There's like this, I can't even explain it. It is a tribe. It
Yeah.
is for sure a tribe. And, I've hired people from those groups for my event planning, or, I've been hired. I've had women, join my community. They've come on my podcast. I've had someone do feng shui in my office. You name it. We've done everything you can think of in that group. And I'm constantly bringing people to David because, he services people in a completely different way than I service people. And I highly recommend him
Yeah.
to work with the community of people that I know need his services, because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm handing them off and they're in good hands. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. And
Yeah.
there are times that people overlap and do some similar things. And that's okay. There's people that aren't a good fit for me. They're not ready for me, or they're not a good fit for me because of personalities or time zones, right? We have people that stay up through the night. They're in Australia, they're in Bali, they're in New Zealand, they're in Malaysia. They're literally staying up through the night. So they kind of connect with each other. So even if there is a little bit of overlap, it's okay. There's enough out there for everyone. And I think it also makes us better too, because we're learning, well, what are they doing and what am I doing? And
Yeah.
okay, well, I could do that. And how do I offer that? And yeah, there's a lot of synergy there for sure, but it's good people bringing good people. So thank you, Colleen, for being one of those leaders.
Absolutely, David. Is there any other website? I know you guys have a magazine, just like we have a magazine, Top
Mhm.
Talent Magazine, which I love.
Yeah.
So, did you want to talk about that and how people can connect with you, whether it be on social media or through a website, and how they can also find the magazine that you have to offer?
Yeah. We'll put some things in the comments here, but I think probably the best thing just to kind of get into our world is davidtfagan.com. That's my main website. And at davidtfagan.com is my calendar link. And if you want to
Okay.
set up a 15-minute call to talk and see if you're a good fit for something, or kind of tell me where you're at and what you're doing, we can do that. Sometimes that calendar goes out a little ways just because of people filling that up. But I would start with that. We do have toptalentmag.com if you want to see some of those magazine covers and some of our clients. We have toptalentpublishing.com. And I'll kind of slide in this kind of hot marketing tip. One of the mistakes that people make is they try to put too much on one site, and people go there and they kind of get confused. Like, well, what do you really want me to do here? And we're definitely big believers in, you got a big event, you want a site for that. You got a magazine, you want a site for that, right? You do something else, right? You personally, I do a lot of media, and when I send people to the media to learn about me, they go to davidtfagan.com. So anyways, we got a ton of sites. I don't want to overwhelm you with them all now. I would mostly focus on my main site, maybe book some time with me. And if there's any other site, it would be toptalentjv.com, just so that you can come attend that event. It's only 10 days away. We do 3 days. They're more like half days, 8 to 2 Pacific time. And you'll get the opportunity to meet a lot of really good people. And
Yeah.
when we go into those breakout sessions, there's always somebody just helping facilitate it, like a team leader. And that's one of the things that Colleen does for us. She's real good at making sure everyone gets a chance to talk, making sure everyone, tells everybody what we need to know about them. And it's because of that, because of people working for you, to help kind of promote you, that you'll get something out of it. And maybe you want to be one of those team leaders. You just introduced us or reconnected us with Carrie Conley, so thank you, Colleen. So there's all kinds of different roles and ways for people to participate in that kind of organization and serve.
Yeah. If you want to grow your business, you need to be seen, you need to be heard. You must be visible. This is one of those events I tell my clients and my community you need to attend quarterly. So it's June 7th through the 9th. I don't think we
Yep.
mentioned that.
Yep.
The links will be in here. So David, thank you so much for being on with us today.
Thank you.
If you have the opportunity to stay with us, great. If you have to hop off, I totally understand. But it was a pleasure having you here. And we'll.
I'm not going anywhere. I got to hear what Sheri has to say here.
Yeah, I am excited to bring Sheri on because, we're all in different stages of where we are in parenthood. How many grandkids do you have now, David?
I have two. My oldest daughter just had our second granddaughter. So yeah, we've got two now. We're going to catch up with you, Colleen.
Yeah, well, I've got 11, so good luck with that. It's going to, I mean, you're easily going to be able to bypass me with all your kids because I have some that aren't even married, even started having families yet. So it's still growing. But I always joke around and say my kids just like to breed. They just have a lot of kids. So they just keep going. It never stops. So, which is a good thing. I'm happy for that because I love being around my grandkids. But let's talk to Shari because Shari Medini, you and your friend, Carissa Tunis, you wrote a book, and I really am so interested to hear about why you wrote the book. Obviously, you each have 3 children at home. Going into this pandemic looked very different for David and I, right? In our households with the ages of children that we have at home, I'm an empty nester. So going into the pandemic looked very different in my household than it did in yours. And I can only imagine being shooken up and having to have kids at home and homeschooling them, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're used to having that time to yourself. And then you really can't even leave to go to a co-working space because those don't exist, So Shari, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And I only have 2 kids. Carissa's pulling the weight here with 4. So, it's like peanuts in this room. But yeah, it was a unique challenge. Carissa and I had each been working from home for over a decade prior to this. So when all of this happened, we were in the midst of pitching a book to publishers. It was not this book. It was not parenting while working from home. However, it was one of our other book ideas in our proposal. And a publisher said, we want that one and we need it in a month. Can you do it? And we were like, yeah, sure. Because it's not like we're not homeschooling all of our kids currently. And, like you said, my noise canceling headphones were the only thing that got this book written. It was crazy, but it was also that moment of you take that opportunity and you run with it. And it was something that we were so passionate about, that we were seeing so many other families being thrown into this situation for the first time. What do I do when my kids are home 24/7? What do I do when my kids are home 24/7 and I have to work here? And those were all things that we had kind of figured out through the years as stay-at-home moms and entrepreneurs and having done that. So we wanted to be able to pass along some of those practical ideas, some of those mindset strategies, and some of that inspiration to just, give some encouragement that it is possible. It's hard, but it doesn't have to feel impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's strategies to it, right? There's definitely strategies. So talk to me. Let's rewind a little bit. What book were you planning? What book were you planning? Is this book still going to come out? Do we get to see it at some point, read it at some point?
Potentially. It was more so just kind of overall parenting strategies. Okay. So a lot of where we're coming from is that positive parenting that when we were young moms, so much of what we were being bombarded with on social media was the kids are annoying, the husband's a pain in my butt, and like, I can't, everything's horrible. And I do think there's some validation in that, right? That it is sometimes comforting to hear that this is hard for everybody. But when we were reading that over and over again, that's kind of how we started to see the world, that you would get annoyed when your toddler would dump his Cheerios on the floor. Well, that's what toddlers do. You guys know very well. So part of what we wanted to do was bring parenting content into the world that was positive, but not like this sunshine and rainbows kind of approach. We're very real about it, that yes, there's going to be hard days, but also how do we troubleshoot that? How do we troubleshoot the big things, but also like those little annoying things that take to zap your energy throughout the day or ruin your creativity? So that was a lot of the momentum for the website, but then also for the book that we were pitching was similar to this, where it was a monthly guide. Parenting in July looks very different than parenting in December. There's different things on the to-do list. The kids are into different things. The energy levels are different. So it was really taking that concept and how can we share practical, helpful advice and ideas month by month.
I'm glad you brought that up because I feel that you've swung the pendulum into the middle, right, for that balance. I see a lot on social media, either people are portraying their lives, and social media is a big outlet that people use for taking photos, sharing their vacations, right? But they create this life that's perfect. And sometimes they're only taking photos when they get a new car or when they're on vacation or when the children are dressed up perfect and posing in front of, a fountain or something. So they're not really putting the real story out there. But yet, like you said, on the other side, if you're only being fed, and psychology, will back this up. If you're only being fed what people are putting out there as your perfect life, you immediately feel less than. Oh my gosh, if I don't have my kids in those outfits, if I'm not getting a new car like Susie just got down the street, if I'm not going on 4 vacations a year and leaving my kids with sitters, I must not be a good parent. I'm not getting the vacations I deserve. Then you swing it the other way. And if people are constantly just complaining about their children, complaining about their life, obviously we know they're the victims, right? There's just complaint. What you said, that attraction becomes all you see in the world. So I want to first say thank you for bringing some reality into the world in social media and into your book by writing a book that talks about, hey, there's the good times and there's the bad times, then there's not so good times, and then it's just the normal reality of what happens. Here's what we can do in all of those situations to create the life that we desire. Like, because you talk about creating the life you desire. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom that is a full-time entrepreneur, this is what you have to do to put in place for your children to be able to be responsible and for them to understand that there's times that you have to work.
Well, that's the key, right? This doesn't just happen, and a lot of times looking outside in, people can look at Carissa and I and say, well, they have it easy, or they got lucky, or the kids are just, they won the lottery in all these different ways. And I'll be the first to say I'm appreciative. I think my kids are wonderful. I appreciate I have a supportive husband. I know there's a lot of things that I have going for me. However, I'm also very, very intentional with my time, with my days, with how I communicate with my kids. Just like you said, I think it's been really cool throughout this last year that kids get to see what their parents do a little bit more. And like you were saying, David, that's a common thing in our house where I'm always sharing what I'm working on. My husband and I are always talking to them about maybe parts of our job that we actually can't stand, that we're like, we have to do this because it's part of our responsibilities. I don't enjoy doing it, but I get it done. I get it over with. Just like there are classes in school that you do not enjoy, but you got to pay the toll sometimes to get to the good stuff. And just the reality of seeing that just because I'm an adult doesn't mean I don't have to play by the rules. I still have to work within other people's expectations. I still have to, have those responsibilities. And I think if we can look at those bright sides of being all together, despite all of the stress, and keep those lines of communication open, we can teach our kids a lot of amazing life skills along the way.
Yeah. And, I remember Oprah Winfrey said something one time that I'll never forget. And she said, our kids, it was someone she was interviewing, and the interviewee had said, our kids do not become who we are. And most parents think I have to mold myself to what my children are, or mold my life to what works for my children. We need to understand that our children pass through our lives.
Well, and
so they're a big piece of it at some point. Yes. But then now that, we're empty nesters, they're not a big piece of it every single day. I don't see them every day, but you're not having to raise them during that time. So I think it's very important for parents to realize that, it's about raising the children to be great, tiny little humans in this world. And like David had mentioned, instead of just giving them or raising entitled children and giving them what they want, having them earn what they want or need so that they understand how to do that as adults, because we all know that the education system's pretty busted and they're not teaching them a lot of that in the education system. So we are the teachers at home.
Well, and the conversation we have a lot is really based around that strengths-based approach, but also really individual. Like us as a family, we're a team. Like you are good at that. I'm good at this. How can we kind of come together and work together? Yeah. But even with my two boys, it's been helpful that there's not a whole lot of sibling rivalry because they both really have a secure identity in and of themselves. They know who they are. They know what they're good at. They also know what they're not so great at. And they'll turn to brother and be like, hey, you should do this. And they really balance each other out. And it's so fun to see, but it has also made them to be really accepting of their peers and their classmates, that they kind of have this core belief that we do all have different strengths, and I'm trying to raise them to really capitalize on those, because we are in such a hyper-focused world a lot of the times that, yes, I want you to be able to read and write and do math and have the basics, right? But outside of that, do what you love. Let's double down on what you're naturally good at and naturally interested in. Because one, you're going to have a more confidence heading out into the world, but two, that I hope, I want that for you. I want that for you moving forward. I feel like I've been able to kind of find that, but it took me longer than I would have wanted to. This is my dream job of getting to write books, but it was kind of a windy path to get there. So if I can, I don't want to connect all of the dots, but if they know, we need to trust our kids a little bit more. They know what they're good at. They know what they want to do. So how can we support them in that?
Yeah, I think honesty and transparency are two very important things with children, and us realizing for at any point that a parent thinks that their child doesn't know what's going on, well, I'm just going to tell them right now, that's just BS, because your child is watching you more than they're listening to you. They're very aware of what's happening. They're very
From
aware
a very young age.
So, yeah. So observing that, and thank you again, Sheri, for writing this book and the book that you wrote. And please share, everyone. It's Parenting While Working from Home, a monthly guide to help parents balance their careers, connect with their kids, and establish their inner strength. So not are you only helping the parent really realize the type of parent that they are and creating their inner strength, you're helping them identify that in their children so that they can identify their inner strengths. And you, Sheri, you had talked about having several opportunities on your website for some free downloadables and some planners. So let's talk about that. How can our listeners find those downloadables? How can they use them in their everyday and in helping raising their kids?
Sure. If you go to adorethemaparenting.com, you can find all of our information there. We do have, daily planner printables, but we also have some fun interactive printables for kids and growth mindset kind of thing, journal prompts, and all sorts of stuff to kind of help the whole family get on the same page.
That's wonderful. And then from that page, that website, Adore Them, what was the second part of it?
Parenting.
AdoreThemParenting.com. Is that where they can find your book as well?
You can find the book there too. And the book's available from all major retailers. So you should be able to find it easily online.
Okay. And the book is called Parenting While Working from Home, a monthly guide to help parents balance their careers, connect with their kids, and establish their inner strength. And then David, your book was Guerrilla Parenting, How to Raise an Entrepreneur. That can also be found on Amazon. Is that right?
Yeah. We do a lot of sales just on our website, which is a whole nother strategic thing. That's a whole nother long conversation. I just want to say one thing. There's one word that comes up a lot in this whole parenting discussion, and I think it's something that you and Sheri would agree with too, is the goal isn't even necessarily happiness. I think parents kind of always want my kids to be happy. I want my kids to be self-reliant. self-reliant? Like, do we want our kids to be dependent on us or self-reliant? I feel like the best gift we can give to any kid is to help them be self-reliant and not need us. It doesn't mean that they won't want us, but not need us financially. And Sheri, as I'm learning about your book here, brilliant. Because what perfect timing with the way the world is right now. Everybody needs to know, like everyone's trying to figure that out. Like, oh man, how do I make this work with kids and a business? Anyway, sorry, I just had to say that, Colleen. I didn't.
Oh no,
Thank you. I appreciate
you
it.
didn't hijack anything. That's great. This is a conversation. And I agree, you know, I remember when my first child moved out, one of my sons said, he said, aren't you sad that she's gone? I'm like, no, I'm extremely happy. My goal in raising her was so that she could spread her wings and go and be responsible. And exactly what David said, be self-reliant on their own. You know, that's why we're raising them. And again, the school systems are not doing that, parents. So it's really up to us to, and we're still doing it today. You know, David's still giving advice to his older children that are having children. We're still giving advice to our older children that are having children. We're still giving them advice. They're still coming to us. But again, it's not that they're reliant on us and they need us and they just have to, you know, live with us. It's that they are just looking to us to be parents, to guide them on decisions that they're making in their lives. And that's the position you want to be in, you know, and guiding them through those. So parents, heed the advice you heard today from David and Sheri about how to raise very self-reliant children, honest children that are understanding what their strengths are, and then taking those strengths to be able to go out and create the life that they desire and do what it is that they want to do and not be afraid of work or failure, but understand it's just really part of the plan. So Sheri, again, thank you for being with us. David, Fagan, thank you so much for being with us today. Today was a great conversation. And I just want to remind all of you, one last thing before we leave. Remember, you are the only you that has ever been. You are the only you that will ever be. You got one chance. So how you navigate your future and what you do for others is up to you. So you have the choice to lead your life without asking the permission of others. And what I love about what we talked about today was the more you authentically show up exactly who you are with transparency and honesty, the more you give permission to your children to do the same. So thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Nice. Hi.